the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Buckeye fans? Welcome back to another episode of Locked On Buckeyes for the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, also the host of the Jay Stevens Podcast. And today's episode is brought to you by Built Bar. Go to BuiltBar.com and use promo code LOCKED15, and you will get 15% off your next order. It is Monday, May the 17th in the year 2021, and we got some confirmation over the weekend where three Buckeyes games will be broadcast, and when you hear who it is, you might like the broadcasting team. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at JStevens07. You can also follow the podcast on Twitter as well at Locked On Buckeye. Lineup for today in segment 2, Tony Wiggins, the host of Locked On Jaguars, joins us to tell us how Luke Farrell fits into the Jaguars offense. Segment 3, we'll talk about one thing we have learned early on with Ryan Day being the head coach at Ohio State. We begin today's show talking about the schedule and where three Buckeyes games will be broadcast. We have grown to love certain broadcast teams. We have learned to love certain networks, from Fox. Maybe it's you love ESPN. Maybe you love the primetime games on ABC. You might be someone that likes the CBS Sports SEC Game of the Week because you're just a college football fan and the SEC is on CBS every single week. So no matter which era you fall into, you do have someone that you love or you enjoy. Maybe you like a few broadcast teams on the ESPN or a few on the Fox, or maybe you're a Notre Dame football fan on the side and you love the NBC Sports broadcast, where they broadcast, I believe, 5 Notre Dame games every single year. Myself personally, I grow to like a lot from everybody. I like Mike Tirico. I like Gus Johnson. I like Brad Nessler. I like Chris Fowler. Order's not like that, but I like all of them. They all have a different flavor. They all bring something different to the game. But when it comes to broadcast teams as a whole, it's very hard to beat Gus Johnson, Joel Klatt, and Jenny Taft. Very, very hard to beat them. I understand what ESPN has. I understand how they can put some of the guys on the ABC. I understand what CBS did by bringing Brad Nessler from the ESPN to the CBS. And Mike Tirico, whatever he does, it's gold. But 3 games got confirmed that they will be playing on Fox this coming fall. One of them was kind of expected. I'll explain which one that was here in a second. The Buckeyes open their season September the 2nd on a Thursday in Minneapolis, Minnesota at TCF Bank Stadium. That will be a Fox broadcast. And my guess is that it will be Joel Klatt, Gus Johnson, and Jenny Taft on that one. And I'm pretty sure the next 2 will be as well, as the very next week, the home opener for Ohio State. There will be a noon kickoff September 11th against the Oregon Ducks as well. That'll be on Fox. And then November 27th, the game that got canceled last season against the team up north, there will be a Fox broadcast as well, a 12 noon kickoff. One thing I learned, I was listening to Joel Klatt. I was listening or watching a Joel Klatt interview. This is probably a couple of years ago now. And he explained the draft process that networks go through to decide who broadcasts what game. With Fox having the Big Ten network, having the Big Ten Conference and being a big partner with them, Fox gets first dibs that weekend, the last weekend, a rivalry weekend in college football. Of course, Army-Navy is a week after Ohio State plays a team up north, so that's a little bit later just to get on weeks of college football season. But that week, Fox already gets first dibs on what game they'll broadcast, just based off the contracts and how things have fallen. Alabama-Auburn, always on CBS until the CBS doesn't broadcast the SEC game of the week anymore. Once that goes to ESPN, that'll be an ESPN game. Will that be an ABC 2:30, 3:30 kick? How will they figure that out? That's to be determined. But that is a CBS thing every single year. That the highlight game, honestly, if you look at it, is going to be Ohio State versus the team up north, since ESPN can't get it, since Fox gets first dibs, and CBS always gets Alabama-Auburn. It's Ohio State versus the team up north, which is exactly why, until things change, Fox will probably get that game every single year. I'd be shocked if for some reason they said, no, we want to pick a different game instead of broadcasting Ohio State versus the team up north. It is a ratings thing, and it's when you want ratings, that game delivers every single year. So you get the Minnesota on the road. You got 2 home games, Oregon versus the team up north. And we could talk schedule. We could talk broadcast teams. We could talk all those things all the time, but the one last thing I want to make before we wrap up this first segment, can we please change this thing and stop having all these amazing primetime level games being played at 12 noon? I understand the tradition, and I understand what Fox wants to do with their early or game of the week that they broadcast, having that come at 12 noon right after their pregame show to boost the ratings of the pregame show and to boost the ratings of their game of the week. But wouldn't it be amazing? Wouldn't it be great if you could get Ohio State at 7:30? You could get Alabama-Auburn at 3:30. ESPN broadcast some network broadcast some rivalry game at 12. You can go 12, 3:30, 7:30. And college football fans, we're not leaving our couch. We're not leaving the couch at all. But I see what they're trying to do. But that game screams prime time, baby. It screams prime time every year. The last time I can think about that game, Ohio State versus the team up north, not being a 12 noon kickoff, I believe it was a game of the century, quote-unquote game of the century, 1 versus 2, Ohio State won, the team up north 2 at Ohio Stadium, 42-39 final score. 2006, Ohio State goes on to play in the BCS National Championship in about a month from that game, and they get beat bad. They get embarrassed. I think that was the time they lost to Urban in the National Championship game. And I remember talk back then, whoever wins or loses, nobody knows. This should be the de facto BCS National Championship, or this should be a rematch. There should be a rematch in the BCS National Championship game. Like I think it was January 4th or January 11th. I forget the dates as far as when the BCS added a game to their slate. But change them. I get it. You want to get the ratings, great. But you want to know the best way to get way more ratings than that? You're going to have fans in Oregon waking up at 8:30, 8 o'clock, get some food in them, and then just basically sitting on the couch watching a football game. You'll get a whole lot more ratings for Oregon, Ohio State if that was a prime time game. Guys, we got to step away very quickly. When we come back, we'll welcome in Tony Wiggins, the host of Locked on Jaguars, as he helps us learn how Luke Farrell fits into Urban Meyer's offense in Jacksonville. But first, check this out. BetOnline is the fastest, easiest way to bet on all your sports action. Baseball season is in full swing, and you can track all the action at BetOnline. Get all the latest news, odds, and info for all your sporting needs, including MLB, NBA, NHL, and all of your UFC/MMA action. Before the next pitch, head over to BetOnline on your laptop or mobile device and check out all the great sporting news, sign-up bonuses, and contest information. Don't sit on the sidelines anymore, as this is your chance to get into the game as teams prep for their runs to the playoffs. Head to betonline.ag on your laptop or mobile device to sign up today. And when you sign up, make sure you use promo code LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON, and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, your online sports book experts. And joining us now here on Locked on Buckeyes, this is the final guest from the Locked on NFL family we're going to have on the podcast, helping us recap the NFL draft and see how draft picks fit into their new homes in the NFL. It is Tony Wiggins, the host of Locked on Jaguars. Tony, how you doing, man?
What's going on, brother? Glad to be here.
Yes, sir. I'm doing well. What were your initial thoughts when you saw that the Jaguars drafted Luke Farrell in the 5th round?
Well, I knew they needed a tight end. That was one of the rooms that Urban really wanted to improve in the draft. So they talk so much about familiarity with players. And Luke Farrell, however you say his name at Penn State, is a guy, his former coach at Penn State is here once they got beyond him and past him, he was also a guy that Urban recruited to Ohio State who didn't sign with Ohio State, obviously. I started really looking at Farrell, and I said they're going to go with familiarity. At some point in a lot of my mocks, I had him mocked here because of that. The evaluation process was really diluted this year because of COVID, obviously, and the new restrictions that, we may not see them have those next year. But this year, with the way everything was, you had to think that Urban coming from college, bringing in a lot of college coaches, they were going to go with people that they knew and guys that they were familiar with because of the limitations that they had. So it was a win-win situation for Luke, and it's a win-win situation for Urban.
What did you see when you looked at film on Luke Farrell and how you think he'll fit in this offense? What do you think he does well as far as a player that Urban likes?
Well, the thing is, I didn't have to dig too far back into the tape because I think I saw the best of him. I thought I saw the best of him against Clemson. Yes, he had his best game down the stretch. So I actually was disappointed when I did go back and look back because I'm thinking, like, where did this guy come from? And I found out that his overall production in his career didn't match that. But that could be a good thing. And that means that late in his career, in the biggest moment, he had a chance to show up and he was able to do it. So where with Urban, where they're going to run all of these spread concepts, all you need to do is be a buddy for your quarterback. And what that is just find an open spot and go sit down somewhere. You know what I'm saying? Find a zone, find a hole, a gap, or a little bit of a window, and be a tall, sort of erect target for a guy in the red zone to find, like Trevor Lawrence. And it seems like that's what he was able to do in the national championship game. The thing is, too, the semifinals, but the thing is, for me, what was impressive is that he was able to do it on a big stage at a key and critical moment. And with the familiarity with Urban, I think that bodes well for him, that maybe the best football that he has is yet to come.
Tony, it's interesting because Ohio State doesn't really utilize their tight end. And I went back and looked at some tape, just some highlight films. It was more highlights, not watching game play-by-play. Well, I was looking and seeing, like you said it earlier, sit down, find a spot, find a hole, sit back, and just be a target for your quarterback. And there were numerous times, not just under Fields, but also under Haskins, he was simply that kind of your security guy. If you need a catch, either short yardage or over the middle to get about 10 to 15 yards, he can do that. And that might be a good way for him to consistently get on the field in Jacksonville.
It might be. I think, too, sometimes we think that Urban uses a tight end a lot. Even when he was at Florida, he used Aaron Hernandez a lot, the late Aaron Hernandez. Now, I think what Urban does is he uses weapons, and Aaron Hernandez, no pun intended, was a great weapon, and Aaron Hernandez was a great football player. So Urban used what was around him, and he used that unique ability that he had. But nowhere else in his history did he ever have a guy like that. So he didn't try to force it and make it that way, right? So this guy won't be used that way. So what Urban Meyer has a tendency to do is he'll use guys for who they are and what they are. The key is, can he block? Because if he can block, what that's going to enable them to do during their spread systems, it's going to allow them to keep the other team from making substitutions situationally. Like you put in a move tight end, the team goes to a nickel, put in a big nickel safety or a corner. If you have a blocking tight end, they put in an extra Sam linebacker or well, that's telling. That's like playing poker, letting everybody know what you're going to do. If you have a guy that's both, that's dangerous because now they can't make substitution patterns. And now as soon as you see that there's a mismatch, you can use that tight end to block a smaller guy, or you can use that tight end to run around the bigger guy and create a disadvantage for yourself. So whatever Farrell's going to bring to the table is going to be very important for him to be scheme versatile in order for him to get on the field.
I got 3 more questions for you kind of quickly. Number 1, do you see a possibility for Luke Farrell to be a starter? I'm going to go on the limb and say, do you think he'll be a starter week 1 for the Jaguars?
I don't think week 1. I don't know if he'll be a starter week 1 unless he just comes in and absolutely blows up training camp. And that's what he'll have to do. In fact, I don't necessarily off the bat see the tight end position being a key component in this offense, because I think they're going to actually start 2 running backs. I think you're going to see split backs with Travis Etienne and with James Robinson. I think they're going to do a whole bunch of things differently than a lot of teams around the league. What may get them to start going to more tight end sets is if Trevor Lawrence starts taking too many hits. But I think they're willing to do some things differently around the NFL than most teams.
Do you think the signing or the potential signing, I don't think it's official yet, but the potential signing of Tim Tebow will hinder Luke Farrell getting on the field?
I don't, only in one scenario. If Zach Ertz or someone like that is set free and the Jaguars at some point during training camp say, you know what, we really need a veteran, or we actually see a guy that we can use as a weapon, an outlet for a young quarterback to help us. And if it gets to a point where Urban has to make a decision between Luke Farrell and Tim Tebow, it's hard for me to imagine him telling Tebow, you got to go, if there's no big difference. However, what works for him is he's 10 years younger than Tebow, minimum. Tebow's 34. So there's always room for a guy that you can develop over a guy that doesn't have much room left for you to develop age-wise.
Absolutely. And last question for you. I've been asking everybody that I've been talking to about the draft picks. Do you think Luke Farrell gets a second contract with the Jaguars?
I think he has an opportunity to. Okay. There's always going to be Urban Meyer and the crew here. He's made it clear. They're always going to try to add speed and always going to try to add talent. By them not absolutely addressing tight end early this year because there were so many other needs, there's a kid at Texas A&M, man, named Weidemeyer, and I'm telling you, he is the cold-hearted truth. Urban loved Kyle Pitts this year. Weidemeyer's not Kyle Pitts, but he's Kyle Pitts-like. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And he's a little bit bigger of a player. The fact that they didn't even touch that area this year, and everyone knew it was their biggest area of weakness, not necessarily the biggest area of need because they may not emphasize it as much, but it was the room that really was the barest, and they barely touched it. It tells me that at some point, if it shows up as a weakness, they're really, really going to start addressing that talent-wise in the future. So he has to develop. And if he develops and he gets involved in their strength and performance program and he does the things that he should do, he'll have a chance because of his age. But if he doesn't, and if he's slow to move on, this train is going to keep rolling, and Urban is going to do what he's done at Ohio State and Florida. It's going to be like recruiting. We're going to try to add 5-star guys every single year, and if you can't roll with it, we'll roll right over you, in the words of Nino Brown.
Tony, if you could, let everybody know they can connect with you on Twitter, then also check out your show as well.
Yeah, it's at Shop Talking Wig. That is my Twitter handle. That's because I've been a barber for 30 years and I run my mouth all the time. And I do the Locked On Jaguars podcast Monday through Friday, and I'm a part of the Locked On NFL podcast. I do that on Wednesday with James Rapine, who is with Locked On Bengals. So that's where you can find me, man, and catch me on Twitter all the time. And Jay, this is fun, baby boy. I love it. We had a good time talking about technology. I can't say I learned nothing because I already told you I'm not tech savvy, but it was fun talking about it anyway.
Absolutely, man. This is fun. We'll have to have you back on again, guys. Buckeye fans. I haven't told Tony this. I haven't told many NFL hosts this, but I am planning to reach out to NFL hosts prior to the season to get some more final thoughts before the season starts, so Buckeye fans can know how their former favorite players possibly will fit in the new teams once the NFL season does start. There's a good chance you're a person like me that loves, and I literally mean loves, a good protein bar. You know, the ones that when you look at the nutritional facts on the package or the box before you purchase it, it fits everything you're looking for in something you put into your body. And that protein bar whose nutritional facts fit and taste like a candy bar as well. Well, guys, I've ended my search, and I thoroughly encourage you to consider ending yours as well, because Built Bars are great for the health-conscious guy. They'll also help you lose and maintain weight while indulging in a delicious treat. Bars are low-calorie, low-sugar, high protein, high fiber, and they're also great for the keto diet. And one interesting detail about Built Bars is they're covered in 100% chocolate. Head to BuiltBar.com and use promo code LOCKED15, LOCKED15, and you will get 15% off your next order. Once again, go to BuiltBar.com and use promo code LOCKED15, LOCKED15, and you will get 15% off your next order at BuiltBar.com. And as we roll on and wrap up today's episode here of Locked on Buckeyes, we're going to keep rolling on 5 days a week next week, or this week and next week, and maybe drop down to 3 days a week in June. Still waiting to see some final details and get a final announcement if that's going to be the case. But if that does happen, we'll let you know right here on the show. Ryan Day, the head coach at The Ohio State University, we learned something very quickly about him. You can take this quick snapshot of this offseason, or you can go previously and just look at Ryan Day, how he has ran the program, how he has ran the football team to formulate a calculated and well-educated opinion about him. Ryan Day, the football coach. he is not here just to win some games. He's here to win a lot of games, and he's here to run the right kind of program as well. Quick snapshot of what we have witnessed this offseason, then we'll wrap up today's show. So think about this. A couple months ago, a few months ago, it may have been shortly after the national championship game. I forget exactly when this report came out or when this actually took place, but Marcus Hooker got arrested for a DUI. You think he's 18, 19, 20 years old. He may be 21. He could be he could be of the legal age to drive. Ryan Day could just let it slide, say, hey, man, don't let it happen again. You're a vital part of our team. You're a big piece to what we do. Hey, man, I know what the cops say. I know what the NCAA might say, how my peers might look at me. I understand what your parents have put me and they have trusted me to do with you at Ohio State. And I know what your brother in the NFL, I know what he was at Ohio State, and yeah, you could be that. So we're going to let this slide. Yeah, the stuttering on purpose because no. That's not what Ryan Day did at all. Ryan Day knew what already happened to Marcus Hooker. He understood that this is his second infraction. Let's go ahead and use that word. Second infraction that has happened since he has been at the Ohio State University. And Ryan Day said, timeout, sit back, indefinitely. Let's figure this bad boy out. I'm a person that didn't think Marcus Hooker was going to get a lot of playing time as far as a starting role this year. But if he let that slide, and he let the younger players, the older players, and those that are in between see how he handled that, your coaches, the other coaches in the Big Ten and around the country would have said, you're letting that slide? Down the side. You're letting that infraction slide and you're going to allow him to come back? Ryan Day said, nope. Not so fast, my friend. You got to sit back. We're not going to have any of that nonsense inside of this program while it's under my watch. With the whole situation with the massage therapist, consensual sex, we talked about all that last week. I'm not going to try and belabor the point. If she was not a masseuse, I think this is a huge non-story, just being completely honest with you. I think it's a non-story, and she's not a masseuse. She is a masseuse, violated her license, the guidelines for her to keep her license. She lost it. Okay, I get it. That's the only kind of story that's there. I'm not going to try and talk about that very much longer. But Ryan Day, at this time, I don't know, I'm assuming he heard about this year, because as soon as this came out, as soon as it all came to him and he learned about this thing, the investigation started. A 2-month-long investigation, 117 current and former players, 44 coaches were interviewed, were talked to, and the young lady was questioned as well to find out all the details of the story. Once again, Ryan Day could have said, just like I did, if you wasn't a masseuse, we wouldn't even be talking about you. But since you are, we got to bring you in. We got to talk about what happened, how this was all initiated, how you got to contact with them in the first place, how in the world everything went down, just to figure out the right way to properly handle this situation. He didn't have to involve the NCAA or the Big Ten or local authorities there in Ohio. He didn't have to do that. He could have just had a private investigation, left it at that. He honestly didn't have to put the report out there. But Ryan Day said, look, this report's done. Here's what we know. Let's put it out there on Front Street. And Ryan Day, I think he's learned from numerous coaches out there, not saying any names, not doing it. But I think Ryan Day has learned from numerous coaches out there the proper way to run a program and a way that he does not want to run a program. And we're seeing this right now. This is a great message for recruits, a great message for parents and high school coaches saying, I got a guy here, model student, model athlete. I mean, he's an outstanding part of his community. I think he fit in very well there, Ryan. And Ryan Day says, okay, cool. Here's what we got. But if he messes up, these are the consequences, and this is how he could get kicked off the team. Ryan Day, we figured out very quickly. No nonsense kind of guy. He wants to have fun. He wants to win. But any infractions or any wrongdoings inside the program, he's going to nip those in the bud very quickly, guys. This has been fun. We'll come back tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Still have to find a guest. I have one lined up. Hopefully, the interview has not been discussed yet or not been recorded to talk about Tommy Togiai to the Browns. Haven't forgot about Big T. Haven't forgot about those 40 reps on the bench press. We'll talk about those and how those fit in with the Browns. Hopefully later this week, guys. You can always follow me on Twitter at jsteven07. Enjoy the day. Enjoy the show. Come back tomorrow to hear more about your Ohio State Buckeyes. Go Bucks!